Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining. And importantly, welcome Deborah Copps. I'll introduce Deborah in a split second. Deborah is a wonderful friend of mine, an important executive advisor to Everest Group, a pioneer of GBS. And we're going to talk more with Deborah in a split second. But for those of you joining us, Deborah's currently in the UK. I am currently in Connecticut in the US. Please chime in, let us know where you're joining us from. And we're going to talk a bit about Everest Group Engage London. So Deborah, say hello before we jump in.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, Mark, and it's great to be on with all of you out in the audience.
We're going to bring up the slides. I'm going to talk a little bit about the event, and really, Deborah and our dialogue is going to be about the places where we're positioning for global business services leaders, how we're creating a content and agenda that spans all kinds of operational and functional roles for global business leaders. But most importantly, just a little bit of information about the event itself. Happening March 9-10 in London at the Park Plaza London Riverbank. We encourage all of you who are stakeholders, practitioners in GBS, in strategic sourcing and vendor management, and certainly those of you that might be providers or partners to look at opportunities to join us over the 2 days. Where we are talking about, and I'll share a little bit about the theme, this concept of the connected advantage. And then Deborah and I will get into some of the places where we've built content that is sure to be about viable outcomes, give you, as it shows down the right-hand side here, give you meaningful inputs on moving from use case to action on AI, on building future-ready and resilient operations. Because the theme is all about the connected advantage. And this is where working with advisors like Deborah, the Everest Group research team, and our advisory board, we identify opportunities where more than 70% of companies are reevaluating their operating models in the current climate of permacrisis and economic opportunity and disruption and opportunity from AI and other technologies. So the conference and all the content and what we're going to talk about with Deborah here is how we are driving, how enterprise leaders can drive value via creating connections across their business, connections with their partners, et cetera. So with that, Deborah, I think that's enough of the sort of tee up of some of the conference content or conference theme. Let's talk a little bit about some of the content that our advisory board and the research team has helped us build. And really, I think where I tee it to you is to ask you sort of.
We've got, I don't know if you can hear me.
To operating models look like?
Great question. Well, when you look at it, Agentic, it really is a get out of jail card for business services operating models, whether you're IT, whether you're GBS, whether you're just looking at finance shared services as an opportunity to change the way the enterprise works. It really is the catalyst for a lot of change. So one of the things I've been doing with Eric Simonson of Everest is I've actually spent the last 3 months working with him to figure out what the future of GBS looks like. We've gone through a methodology called future casting and built just for this event a look at how a number of forces, and it is not just AI, a number of forces are converging to actually shift the way we govern, the way we hire, the way we orchestrate, and the way we locate our business services operations. So what we're going to do is actually walk you through the sausage making to some extent, show you what we think the future of operating models actually looks like, and then help you understand what needs to be done now, what GBS leaders who are not going to reinvent overnight. We know that. We know it's impossible to do that, given the fact that GBS organizations are fundamentally there to deliver to the enterprise. But how we make a pivot from service delivery to orchestration, harnessing the power of all these forces. What are the dance moves that leaders need to start to think about as they evolve to a model that, quite frankly, very well may turn business services operations completely upside down?
And there's a couple of important things you've said there. Obviously, this is where I show up not as a subject matter expert. I'm an event expert. Deborah is a business services expert. But as she said, and as you said, Deborah, over the last 3 months, sort of looking at and applying a specific model to be forward looking, and knowing that, I mean, I read your LinkedIn feed, I read all types of LinkedIn feeds. GBS models are shifting, and opportunities, I think, are shifting daily, just based upon the way of the world and the way technology and agentic is creating opportunity. But is it fair to say that with some of this proprietary work that you, Eric, and the team are doing, that those folks that attend this session will at least have some sort of sense of, these are the paths of opportunity for me, no matter what some of the tumult might be?
I mean, one of the challenges, to be honest, and some of you who follow me know that I have always a particular point of view, is the operating model really hasn't changed in the last 10 to 15 years. Yet we have the opportunity to take a greater leadership role in the way our enterprises operate if we pivot what we focus on. And that pivot will actually create more value in a world where the system of execution, which has fundamentally been people with a little bit of tech, will shift to a convergence of people and tech. Has to be run as one system of execution, not complementary systems of execution. So what we hope those who attend take out of this is, yes, I have to change. Yes, there are things I can do now to start to change. Yes, I need to be aware of what could happen. So I'm prepared to evolve a GBS model to a value creator in an entirely new environment.
Yeah. And that's a good pivot for the other sort of workshop. For those of you who do join us in London, this session that Deborah, Eric Simonson are leading is happening on Monday the 9th, a deeper dive workshop. We've got another important workshop that the team is working on, and this one is about service experience. Also some sort of forward-looking work that we're doing. Tell us a little bit, Deborah, about where our focus is on this one, and why it's important for folks in GBS and GBS partners.
Yeah, I mean, over the last couple of years, one of the things I think we all know is that GBS does follow trends and fads. And for the last number of years, we focused on service experience. Now we're pivoting a little bit to, more than a little bit, to agentic. But one of the things we've been focusing on is, what does this mean for how our users feel? How easy it is to access information, how easy it is to access service. But one of the challenges is, in every enterprise, there's always a price tag. And if we make an investment, what is the financial, what are the financial implications of investing in service experience, which for most enterprises is not an inconsequential sum. So if you change that single pane of glass, if you pursue the implementation of a single pane of glass, one front door into services, what do you get from it? So we've actually investigated the experience of 30 companies We are focused. Sure, we want to understand whether the net promoter score has changed. That's important. But what actually happens when we make this investment? Do we, in case of one of our respondents, they were able to cut the cost of their outsourcing contract because they could take work content out.
Mm.
So one of the things we're trying to do, and this is really an industry first study. We've been able to understand that from the industry. It's very helpful to practitioners, GBS practitioners, to be able to say, if we make this investment, this is what we're going to reap from a financial standpoint. And very important dialogue with the CFO, who in many enterprises controls the investment. We've got to be able to show that beyond a better experience, we are actually going to get some tangible streams of financial value. So looking forward to this discussion. It's looking at service experience broadly. Obviously, an instrument of service experience is a platform. You all know what the platforms are in this industry, but it's really important to understand what is a stream of benefit that a CFO can count on.
And also, fair to say, Deborah, that the internal customers of GBS, again, my pardon any improper sort of jargon, but the colleagues, the line of business, the divisions that a lot of GBS organizations serve, a strong experience for them translates to better value for that company's customers as well, because the people that are,
really, a really important analysis, and we've looked very deeply into another number of leading companies who have pretty well gone along this journey to actually quantify. This is going to be numbers, folks. This is not just touchy-feely. Part of the equation here.
And appreciate this. So what we'll do in both of these workshop sessions happening on Monday the 9th is drill in deeper. Deborah just talked about there's sort of data and key emerging data behind this workshop and the workshop that Deborah is working on with Eric Simonson that we talked about before. These deeper dives, this is an opportunity for you and your teams to really sort of get a good set of tools, or at least sort of next steps that you can take on some of these key pieces around both service experience and future operating models. We also have a bunch of content where we've got speakers joining us. I'm talking about some of their experiences and their practical motion. This is another one where Deborah, in her role as an executive advisor with us, has collaborated with Everest, and we've done a lot of work around mindsets. So I won't steal any of your thunder here, Deborah, as you talk about. We talked about GBS mindsets and the opportunity at last year's Engage London, and now we're pivoting to talk about some of this sort of opportunities and outcomes. Maybe you could share a little bit about what Phil Priest is going to bring to us on this one.
A year ago at Everest Engage London, we declared that skills are critical to the success of a GBS. Capabilities, the ability to drive outcomes is critical, but ultimately what drives performance is a team with a consistent, with the right focus, the right mindsets. And we're talking about across the board. We're not talking about different mindsets in different teams. So we, over the last year, have been working with leading companies to identify the mindsets and help them activate a culture, a structure, put in interventions that drive cohesive mindset across the team. So we are delighted to have the Rolls-Royce leadership team. Rolls-Royce is really, really embracing the concepts of mindsets. In fact, they are a leader in their enterprise when it comes to thinking about mindsets. But what we're going to do is actually uncover what Rolls-Royce has discovered, how they've implemented mindsets, what they think they're going to drive in the team with a different set of mindsets, and how they've aligned the mindsets with what the enterprise expects from them. So this will be 3 Rolls-Royce executives, including Phil Priest, who leads their GBS, to talk about how looking at mindsets is an important part of their GBS performance equation.
It is also we're thrilled to have, and you were nuanced with how you said it, Deborah. Rolls-Royce is on this journey as well. But we're thrilled to have where we are uncovering, hey, here's some of the opportunities that a real, high-performing GBS has identified to do mindset work to further accelerate their performance, their impact on the business, et cetera. A great session happening a main day Tuesday. As we're about halfway through, again, just a reminder, you saw it pop up on the screen, everybody. If you have any questions or comments, but certainly questions for Deborah, it's not often we get the chance to have a little bit of Deborah's live undivided time. So please do pop some any questions into the chat. I want to talk about one more session with you, Deborah, if we could. And this one also is underpinning what you've said previously, and about performance, about action, about mindsets, et cetera. And we constantly, with our advisory board, as we build Engage agendas across the globe, our Dallas events, our Bengaluru events, the London events, the value equation for GBS, for strategic sourcing organizations, sort of changes and continually evolves. Hopefully my internet didn't drop too badly there. Deborah, would love to hear you share a little bit about this other session that we're doing on sort of the latest in GBS value and the changing context on impact across organizations.
For those of you who are deeply engaged in the GBS industry, or just curious about how GBS organizations survive and thrive, you'll know that GBS organizations start, they'll grow, they'll deconstruct. That just as a motion that's inherent in the industry. One of the things we've identified is the fact that when a GBS value equation to the enterprise is solely cost, it has a defined runway, so to speak. Once a GBS organization is able to wrangle those cost numbers down, it makes it a sitting target for devolution back to the functions or the business that it serves. So being able to prove GBS value beyond cost is not only critical to critical for the enterprise, it's critical for GBS survival. So this session will highlight other KPIs and how those enterprise KPIs connect to GBS metrics to make the GBS, the investment in GBS, the imposition of a GBS model meaningful and valuable to the enterprise.
The most important thing that I heard you just say there is about the upside of value, not just the cost, not just labor arbitrage, not just cost savings, right? How do GBS leaders, how do GBS organizations stay on the growth side of the equation, on the top line side of the equation? And not to say that we're going to very specifically say these are the ways that you should within your business, but it is about more than, as you said, the table stakes of cost removal
Yeah.
and efficiency gain.
Yeah, because let's face it, we spend a lot of time looking at service experience, automation, process improvement, continuous improvement. But fundamentally, another cost motion that the enterprise can take is a machete to headcount. Does that create a lot of value? No. And GBS, quite frankly, hasn't told the story well enough. So practitioners who join this session will pick up some sound bites and hopefully some methods, some messaging that will help them better communicate.
And we're going to talk a little bit. Thank you, Deborah, for drilling into GBS side. Obviously, with your CV and your bona fides, it's easier for me to sort of drill into some of that topic. We also do have comprehensive session programming on strategic sourcing, vendor management, etc. I'm sharing a little bit of that on the screen here. I just would love, Deborah, you're in the context of you talking with global business leaders all day long and in doing some of the work that you do collaboratively with us at Everest Group, and also with some of your other strategic partners. How do some of these sourcing vendor management topics weave in with GBS? How are they influenced by GBS organization or vice versa, or just knowing out in the world, what's important across business? Is there anything that you see here on a few of these SVM sessions that we're doing that sort of resonates or piques your interest?
Yeah, I think in the session about orchestrating value, most GBS organizations are hybrids. It's not an all insourced or all outsourced. It is a mix of both. But you still look at sourcing, resourcing with third parties as separate and apart. And what this first session will do is talk about the fact that any kind of business service, whether it's IT, whether it's GBS, whether it's a combination of the two, is actually delivers more value when it looks at the operating model and how internal resources, technology, and external resources actually play together. And this is going to be increasingly critical, especially in an age of agentic. So I think that's important. We've got to get rid of the us and them, which has been the pervasive thesis for the way we operate global business services for the last 20 some odd years. That's got to go away, because there's untapped value in the outsourcing community. We need to start thinking about two halves of a whole, not two separate pathways to value, which is often cost. I think when it comes to, let me skip to the last one. AI, conceivably, and I happen to be a believer, is going to reshape the provider community. There are companies out there who are saying that they want to control their own AI. There are organizations that are going to look at their providers to embed AI, agentic, any other model that hasn't, we haven't got the buzzword yet, in their models. It's going to be incumbent on our supplier community to start to differentiate themselves using AI, using whatever other lever they have out there. And to some extent, it may be a survival method. There are enterprises out there who are saying we can deal with our own AI, and over time, we just won't need a provider. Whether that's true or not, who knows? But I think the enterprise participants and their suppliers really need to start to rethink what innovation actually looks like.
Without innovation and co-creation, we hear it all day long, right? Everybody is going to have to evolve together, or somebody is going to be left behind, either the supplier side or slow adopting enterprises. Great call out. And last thing I'll call out on this one is we do have a perennial workshop that we do across all of our Engage programs around our pricing masterclass. It is always a highly rated favorite because it helps functional leaders such as yourselves identify opportunities for saving, identify opportunities for a stronger contracting, stronger supplier and partner management. So always a great a workshop that we love to show. We're nearing the end of our timing on our talk. We'll put up one of the things that we're doing is we are offering we're going to do a little drawing for 5 winners to attend Engage London for free. So if you're interested in that drawing, scan that QR code and respond on the form no later than close of business tomorrow, 30 January. Last thing, Deborah, I would ask is, as you think about, you've been guiding this conference for across our global portfolio, and you've been involved for the last couple of years. And you're obviously intimately involved with customers on a daily basis around some of this. What's a key? What's the soundbite for why people should attend Engage London, based upon your sort of your take on what we're doing with the conference?
Yeah, if you look at there are a lot of good products out there in the marketplace. Most of them are focused on what I'm very kindly calling show and tell. We want to hear from other practitioners. We want to know what they've done. We want to know what their challenges are. That's great. But this conference is guided. The content is actually guided by practitioners. And Everest has the capability and the ability to actually do a deep dive into these trends, into these challenges. So the content is actually orchestrated specifically to the needs of the participants, and it's new content.
Yeah.
It's not experiential content. I did this and I did this and it worked. It's actually looking across the industry and saying, let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the trends. Let's look at the challenges. Let's think about this differently.
Yeah.
And I think that's the major difference. It's an important cog in the content that fuels the thinking of this industry.
And if you attend, you get to hang out with Deborah, who is always a phenomenal conversationalist. Certainly, she'll be on stage guiding us in a couple of different sessions. On a personal note, Deborah, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you and your collaboration and partnership on and influence on what we're doing with these programs and support of our shared clients. The ultimate objective here is let's help business leaders perform even better than they currently are today, to the betterment of everybody, their customers, their partners, their suppliers. So Deborah, thank you for taking the time. Those of you listening, please do. You'll have access to these slides. Please visit the website to see all the Everest Group analysts attending. All the practitioners speaking on stage. And if there were any hiccups in my internet over the last few minutes, apologies for that. Deborah, have a great day. Thank you very much. Everyone else have a great day. And we will we'll hit you with a closing video, and we'll talk to you all in London on March 9th and 10th. Thanks, everybody.